just match that intent and what is the score of that match. And then based on the information you would get back, you could then decide which function to call in your code. Oh, that was the day before. I've gone off on the wrong tangent there. We're doing day 2. Oh dear. I'd love today. You were thinking, we did that yesterday. So yesterday was all about Azure OpenAI. That's funny. On automatic pilot. Taught this class so many times. Oh, welcome, Alango. So we're just doing a bit of a recap. So OpenAI, we did a recap of day 2. Now we're going to do day 3 recap. This is funny.
It's good to recap anyway.
Yeah, that's true. So OpenAI, there's lots of different models that we're actually seeing come out of the OpenAI space. And of course, the latest one, we had GPT Omni, and that's been superseded by GPT Omni, that's 4.0, they're both 4.0. Or, not even say the O, because that gets a bit confusing. Now they're saying O for Omni. They said, who thought of that? But basically there, now we have audio is the new one. So this one actually had some fantastic, because this was multimodal as well, so they had some really cool things around image and things like that. And of course they did that fantastic demo of it if you saw once that Omni version came out. But Omni with audio is actually more advanced again, and you can play some audio, you can use the mic, that sort of thing. You can generate things as well, so that's pretty cool. That's the latest ones, but there's nothing wrong with going to an older one. One thing, you're going to save money, an older model. So it's going to be a lot cheaper. These later ones, of course, are going to be the most expensive. But as new ones come out, we're actually seeing that. Yes, so good on you, Daniel. We've got Bring Your Own Data, which was the RAG model. So that's Bring Your Own Data. And we also have prompt engineering, which was fantastic. We learned about the importance of using certain things like sections of your prompt and putting the most important thing first. So the order of your information is important. I've done things, where you're trying to create a really nice image and you keep changing it. Doesn't seem to really get what you're saying sometimes. So putting that most important thing up front, and also if you want to give it some things like if you're doing something like a review, you can actually say this is a review, or this is a comment on something, or this is some sort of SQL statement, for example. You can actually get it to use cues there as well very effectively. And of course, ask it why. I've been asking it this morning about the security and the SaaS. I think I'm getting somewhere with it now, but I was just asking Copilot, and obviously it doesn't always answer quite right. And I've been asking, and then you'll get and it'll say, this is step 4 to do in the document intelligence, for example. And then you'll say, so can you tell me more about step 4? Yes, it'll go and tell you more happily, but it keeps telling me the wrong things. Like it'll say, go and update settings in the data source, and that does not exist as an option. So it gets a little bit frustrating when you're trying to do something technical that's a little bit different from what everyone else is doing. As you can imagine, it does hallucinate, it does tell you what you want to hear, but it's wrong. So ask it why has it made those decisions, just to keep it on the straight and narrow. And of course we talked about RAG there, and in particular we said we were bringing in some PDFs there so that we could train that model that was actually using travel information. The other nice one with prompt engineering, of course, is to have the few-shot prompts, few-shot learning. And that's a nice way. I mean, if you don't do For example, the system message, and you don't do the few shot learning quite often, you can go down a rabbit path of things not working. So few shot learning is really good. And if you wanted to answer in a certain way, that's what's really guiding you there. Of course, and then the next level up is fine tuning. So you really do need to have some of that data. So they were using JSON, I can't remember what format they were using with that, but they were using a JSON-like format as input to train that. So that would be the next layer up. Like, we haven't really started training people on that. And then there's some other things you can use as well that we didn't talk about. For example, semantic kernel. It's like LangChain, so sort of similar to LangChain. And that just gives you just the templates to be able to do different things, and it's almost like extensibility, I suppose, for large language models. But I haven't got too much into that, so if anyone's interested in looking at one up, was like the open source standard, and this is the Microsoft semantic kernel that people started. They were talking about that quite a bit. So for those that are heavy coders, that one could come in a lot handy for your applications. And then, of course, from scratch, which we probably don't want to do too much of, developing a small or large language model, you're going to need a lot. Even with the fine-tuning, you're going to need a fair amount of GPUs and a fair amount of grunt to actually get through something like that. So that's what we talked about yesterday. So I think we also had some nice use cases there. So Terendip was talking about how would you then, if you were to go and look at and allow people to have a sort of like a co-pilot type chatbot for SQL, then you could go and grab, for example, as part of that RAG model, you can go and grab the metadata from SQL. So we're looking at the foreign keys information, and also I suppose there's also this concept of the change ID to the structure. So if you run any DDL to either create new tables or to alter tables to add a relationship, then all that information is just sitting there waiting to be harvested on SQL. So you wanted to be able to create all of those as a RAG and then people can ask questions, when was the latest change and all that sort of thing. So that might be a really nice example. So I think it's definitely going to be here, but it might be in the fine-tuning space as well. So try the RAG first, it's going to be a lot cheaper. And you can probably even just use something like, I think it suggested one of the models for me, which was not the Da Vinci one, it was a different one. I'm just trying to remember what it was saying. So if you just test out Copilot and search for that, that one might actually help you out with that. So there's lots and lots of use cases you're going to be using at work, especially for productivity. So, and also for new starters. So there's nothing worse than starting a new organisation and the documents are all over the place. So it'd be a really nice centralised federated search for people to be able to use. And also that was always a big important thing when you're using something like SQL and you have a whole lot of relational databases, if you know the structure of them. So typically speaking, you would usually have done some modelling and use something like Erwin, Embarcadero's ER Studio. It's probably my preference. You can also use Designer if you're using Oracle. And SQL, funny enough, has that document designer in there as well, where you can just bring everything in, diagrammer, sorry. So there's lots of tools out there you can use to document that. This is taking it to the next level, where you want to see things in real time happening. So that's where I was trying to get when I was doing when I was data architect, trying to get that information. But at that time we didn't have chatbots, so that's a nice angle to look at it from. All right, so a little bit about yesterday. And today we're going to be doing knowledge mining and document intelligence, and surprise, surprise, that Sasky is getting me on document intelligence as well. So I've decided to create a managed instance for the document intelligence and then grant the access to the storage account using that managed instance. So, managed ID, pardon me, not instance. So, hopefully I've nut out the security so today. But at the very worst, it was coming up with error messages, but it was still allowing me to do labels. So I can at least show you how to do labels. All right, so knowledge mining, this is sort of like the antithesis of, not antithesis, probably the wrong word. This is the ultimate goal for this course, is to get to the point where you have a knowledge mining solution. So similar to the internet, but you've got your own one used internally. But these days, we're actually, I don't know whether we're really, we're using this one as much. We might use that as plugins to our Copilot at work. But these days we probably would use Copilot Studio, which is probably the least amount of work, and create our own knowledge base that way. And you would do that by linking in SharePoint, you would link in your websites, and you would also link in any relevant documents you can bring. And then once you have that, the Copilot is usually ready to go pretty quickly, and then you can start to do actions. So in particular, one of your actions might go and call an application, like, for example, extracting text from an image, extracting audio and translating that into a document that you can use in your knowledge solution. So that's where I think it's probably going to be a lot more relevant, but also you can do indexing on your documents as well, just like you did with RAG yesterday. You can use the search and you can index that. So when it tells you in the lab, when you get to the lab and it has, make sure you tick this, and this, make sure you pay attention, because if you get that wrong, it doesn't work. So just let you know that too. The other thing that I was reading in the channel this morning that we got internally was that EastUS is not a good one to use today, so use EastUS2 instead if you're thinking about using that region. So that's just another little word of warning. They've been talking about some things not working in EastUS just recently, so just let you know that as well. All right, so let's get into knowledge solution, and for this one we're going to have the search, definitely, but we're also going to develop custom skills. So you might think, what's a custom skill? A custom skill might be cracking open a document and describing what's in the image, take all the bounding boxes, for example, store them somewhere so that you can actually go and query, or you can crop, or whatever you want to do. So that's one example. Any of the AI services can create a custom skill. So that's where you can enrich this one solution to do a whole lot of different things. And then you'll have this fantastic knowledge base, but then you've got to keep it up to date. So this is where you can schedule things to actually update those sorts of things, so you can have this enrichment pipeline. All right, let's have a look at the search. So we've seen the search already in OpenAI, so a bit of a spoiler alert there. This is the Azure AI search solution. Now, if you wanted to go to something more, if you're just trying it out and you wanted to, as proof of concept, you might look towards, you might look towards some of those open source search tools, and then once you start to think about how you're going to use that in production, you might move to the enterprise solution there. So implementing the custom skills as we talked about, and the knowledge store is made up of a collection of a whole lot of different things. It's got objects, files, and tables. So each one of those has a slightly different JSON representation for those three different objects. Okay, so we've got all this information coming in. We've got our knowledge base here, we've got our storage accounts as well, and we've got this search going on. So in the cloud, you're going to need additional resources for this, but as you can imagine, you'll want a few different types of resources. So you might even want document intelligence to hook in a little bit of document intelligence as well. Because when you think about it, our documents coming in, for example, even if you think of something like a resume coming in, quite a lot of people put pictures. You might want to store that picture differently. So you've got to find the picture in there. That could be one of the skills. And then keyword search, so you could use text intelligence to extract all the keywords, and that's quite often you see that sort of matching that happens when people are applying for jobs. And then basically you can put all that into your knowledge base, and then you can extract out the text and get a good idea of the way people speak in their resume, any tips, anything you might be looking at for in particular, like they've implemented a CRM before, all that sort of information you can get out of that document. So we would use the search, we would use the other AI services for index enrichment. So we talked about a few already, and you need a storage account for all of that knowledge store so that it's persistent. So it's not just ephemeral and gone. When you're doing the job, you actually have this knowledge base to call on. So that's the components that we can see. The data source, it can be a blob storage container, a SQL database, or a Cosmos DB that you can get your data from. You can push JSON documents directly into an index. So if it's already in JSON format, like for example Cosmos, you've already got a collection of documents, that one's going to be a real easy way to go about it. SQL Server a little bit more complex because you've got to take the information out and maybe convert that to JSON. So the next thing is the skill set. So like I said, detecting images in documents, reading those images, finding out whether there's any text in the images, taking out keyword search. There can be a whole lot of things. You could be ingesting a whole lot of audio. That could be like voice of customer, for example. And you can search what the customer said, you can translate it into different language. So if you think about all the skills we've learned over the 4 days, all of those can be incorporated there. And you've also got also array of built-in ones out of the box, but you've also got the custom ones you've been learning along the way as well. So the indexer is going to go and map the data sources, fields and skill set outputs to an index field. So that allows you to easily be able to find things quicker, and you're going to run the indexer to build the index, and then at the end there you're going to have the indexes available, which is that searchable collection of JSON documents, and you've got all the enrichments of all the various skills that you've used along the way as well. So that's pretty cool. That's the sort of process you would use. So here's a good example where we're doing some document cracking on the field. One of the things you might also notice is your JSON might have to be simplified. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So this is how the enrichment pipeline works. You start with the document cracking, going in, getting all of the fields out of there. And then you see your various skills. So you've got an OCR skill, you've got your language detection. And if you're doing a translation, you might have that as well. So you would have all these different skills line up in the pipeline, and as you do this, you'll see your JSON is growing, or you'll be creating new JSON documents as well. And then once you get out all the information that you want, you can basically index that, and as you can see there, after it's indexed, the index fields will, there's certain things that will have, would require explicit mapping, like the metadata storage name to the file name, that you might want to actually intervene and put your own information in there, or a lot of other ones will be implicit mapping. So it's called metadata author, that will translate over into the file directly. So language, merge content, there's some mappings required there. So you can see it's a collection of either you telling it what to do or it bringing the data over automatically. So it's merging all that together in order to index that. All right, so creating a custom skill for AI search. You're going to have some sort of web interface, you're going to have some sort of smart application there. You would create a custom skill, for example, they've got one there integrating into a document intelligence pipeline, or just actually input into a document intelligence custom job, for example. So it might just be taking out relevant information from the documents and then presenting that to document intelligence, just to make it a little bit easier and quicker. But then you would consume, for example, an Azure machine learning model. So you might want to find out of document intelligence if there's any fraud detected on there. So you look at your document, they've filled out a form, perhaps we can do some cross-checking with other systems, and then you could use a model to say fraud, yes or no. And then depending on what happens there, it could go from referral to actually go to a call centre for someone to actually go and look at that. Or it could be straight through because we haven't detected any fraud. Or if it's a claim, for example, a part of the claim system, you might see, hey, that amount is less than $100, wave it straight through. It's not worth the time and effort to actually detect fraud on this, things like that. So any other custom logic that you might want to create with logic apps, you can do all that. And you've also got custom skills that are implemented as web APIs there. So again, you can call. Oh yeah, Daryl.
Question for you. Yeah. So the creation of the custom skill, it seems like the business rules or whatever that it's being designed to do, that's the place to integrate it or to put it in. Is that
if
I'm getting that correctly?
Yeah, so that's right. So if if you do have any business rules, like if you've got a claim system and you want to detect fraud before you pay out, or if you want to have a limit for that, wave it straight through. Yeah, that's a good way to put that in there as well. But often we think of this particular system also for internal use on a federated search for people to be able to find stuff as well, to do their job a lot easier as well. Cool. Any other questions or any other comments? Do you think you find a use for this at work, I suppose?
Not for my work, but my clients who use this. That's because I'm in consulting, so yes, it's something that they can do. For example, invoice approvals, and then or maybe just account receivables if there are thresholds, or credit memo routing, something like that.
Yeah, cool. All right, good examples. Anyone else thinking? Because I suppose if you're in consulting but you're in the IT department, you might have a slightly different performance, like helping for automation, for example, for the rest of the consultants. So, yeah. Anyone else thinking about how you would use this? Jeremy?
Yeah, I think we do have my other function teams have lots of this similar kind of activities.
Oh, excellent.
But I think, like claim submissions and do lots of document reviews and understand doctor statements. There are multiple things. Yeah, I think I'll be building something out of it today, or how it is.
Yeah, we'll be doing the custom skills today and in the lab, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I think definitely it's useful component. Yeah.
Excellent. Anyone else thinking how you can use this in the workplace? If you've got one of those older, go for it. Yeah.
Involved in where again it's one of our clients' job assessments against the roles across the organization. So basically, a big organization may have multiple designation and roles, which is not normalized, and the company would like to normalize those against the standards available in the market, and we would use something like this to normalize, get the data from the organization, normalize it, and then apply and see, what are the opportunities that they can, put people on. So something like that. And also, I was also mentioning about SharePoint yesterday. So you get a big SharePoint site where knowledge is scattered everywhere. So it's difficult to find things using the out-of-the-box search. So I think something like this would be fantastic if we can put a custom search.
Yeah, I don't know whether have you got Copilot for SharePoint as well?
We got it, but not approved for all the member firms to use it yet.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah, so that will help you as well. good use cases there, Margaret.
Right.
All right, I suppose the only other thing I was thinking, and which is like the bane of most employees' existence, is the annual reviews. I mean, I think we do 3 reviews a year. So your 360 reviews, whatever you do at work. I can't help but think, and it's one of those ones you've got to balance with invasion of privacy, is rather than have to say what you've done, what impact you've done, because Microsoft's all about impact, not so much what you've done, but how you've impacted other people's lives, how you've helped them. It would be nice if we just collected that information and then just do it automatically. And then the employee doesn't even have to fill in anything. All of their work is on display. It's also not, possible to really, have bias then because everything is on display. But I can't ever see a time from a privacy point of view that we'll be able to do that. We know that employers actually capture a lot of information about what to do during the day. How they use that is up to each organisation, but and yes, there are definitely privacy guidelines in there as well. But that would be so good. I really hate filling in KPIs and what I've done and all that sort of thing. And they change every year, so it's always a moving target. Ours change quite wildly, so we've really put in a lot of effort into ours and our development plan. So wouldn't it be nice, the other one I suppose is a really nice one is because I worked in recruiting for a very short period of time when I worked at Monster in the 2000s around then. It would have been really, really nice to have a way to match people to their dream jobs or whatever they're skilled mostly at, or what does their future hold? What are they more likely to be able to be good at, for example? So I always thought that we could be, rather than interviewing people, which is a bit hit and miss, it'd be nice to be able to have a system like that as well. So I suppose you can use it for just about anything. All right, here's a good example of, so if any other ideas come to mind, it might be something you can use that for. But then again, I'm starting to think Copilot's probably going to be used for most of these things. This one's a little bit more intensive. Obviously, there's a lot of work associated with that. So you've got an input schema there. So you've got some sort of record input data coming in. And then on the output side, you'll have that enriched with other information. So, for example, a property bag of values, it can be a single value or a complex JSON. So when it does come to be a complex JSON, I think I've got something a little bit later, you can actually reduce the complexity of the JSON as well. The output value is a property bag that contains any JSON structure reflecting the fact that the index fields are not necessarily simple data values, but can contain more complex values as well. So I was talking more about the input that we want to reduce the complexity of. When we're adding a custom skill set there, you can see what sort of information, what sort of custom web API skill we're going to call, a bit of a description in there, and any of the parameters required. You can see the header there. And of course, you'll have security, authentication, all that sort of thing. Like I'm feeling the pain of at the moment. And but I suppose it's nothing. I've been in lots of organisations where the pain has even been great. So it's not as bad. You've got your documents there. So what you can do is specify the URL to the web API endpoint, optional any parameters and headers. And then you can set the context to specify which point in the document hierarchy the skill should be called. So assign any input values that are required and store any output in a new field. So that's part of that mapping exercise. So now you want to basically add the custom skills from the previous JSON document there to move it along to indexing next. All right. Any questions so far? It's a good discussion we had. I don't stop and pause too often enough. I need to do that more often and get people's ideas on things. Let's go for the first exercise of the day. So we're just at 9:30. So the content's pretty lean today. Document intelligence is a lot more now. Document intelligence, that's going to be one of your custom skills, right, that you can use. So let's get into creating a custom skill. So I've got a couple of links to share with you as well, as always. This is the one for this morning. So this is the lab information for what we're going to be doing. So there's lots and lots of options in this knowledge mining. There's heaps you can take away and do later. And the one for this afternoon, I'll give you that this afternoon. Oh no, I'll give it to you now. So this is the document intelligence ones we're going to be doing this afternoon. So let's go and have a look at that first lab. I have to get some breakfast soon. I haven't eaten anything this morning. I never have time. Use your own data, that was the last one we did, and now we're going to create. So we've only really got 2 labs for today. So if you want to take some more time during this lab, it's only a 1 hour each as well. I don't like that one, they're only an hour. So give this one a go. I might actually finish early today, so we'll see how we're going. And if you want, we can try and work on any of the problems that we've been talking about for the last few days, or the use cases. Perhaps we'll find some cool stuff in there to do as well. Let me just double check that. Yeah, okay. There is an extended exercise you can do at the end of this as well. So let me just bring that one up. HTTPS KAMSKMAILP. Let's hope this works. Now we can try it. It's the index, apply filtering, and the exercise. Let's see whether we can sign into this one. Let's see if we can launch the lab. Data puzzle. Match the rocks with the number on the left. Okay, I think it's that one. There you go. Oh no, it doesn't look like it's working, does it? Oh, there we go, start lab. There we go. So it does look like it's working. So if you want to do the next thing after you finish that lab, let's have a little bit more time today doing this optional lab as well. So that's actually the optional lab, optional extended lab. That's good that works. All of these were basically taken down, so yeah, a bit disappointing when you can't get to them. So let's have a look at the second one. Go into Azure. You'll have to bring, just trying to think whether you can use the existing lab to do this. So go into there. They don't give you users, that's the problem. Nah, they don't give you users. So you have to bring your own subscription to this. So they've got a storage. You could try one of our labs to see if you can get it to work with this. So just have the instructions here on the right. They go and log in, upload some documents. It's not launching 100%, so this could be the fact it's not working. That's an interesting one to take back into the office if you've got a subscription there. So it's end to end. This is a very big one. So I remember this one taking over an hour to do back in the days when it was actually part of the labs. So, oh well, looks like it's working. So I would just, looks like it's good to go. So definitely give that one a go. Just going to leave that one. So this is the one we'll be launching now, which is the custom skill. So let's have a little bit of a look around this one as well. this one here, create a some skill there. And what are we going to do? We'll go and git clone, set up commands, logging in, set up there that's running. So that probably takes about 5 to 10 minutes. You go and grab a cup of coffee while we do that one. And then we're creating a search solution. Index JSON, create the search, search the index, and then create an Azure function with a custom skill. Stop words that it's removing maybe or ignoring. The custom skill to the search. So this one's doing quite a lot anyway. So yeah, this one's going to take a little while. You might find you need the whole hour and a half for that. So let's just do it slowly, and I'm going to start the timer for you. So we might go through till at least 10:30 for that. And we'll check in with everyone and see how they're doing with it. Okay, so first lab. Here's this one here. So I have to sign in again. Just got locked out there. All right, enjoy. I'm just going to try and get my SAS stuff up and running for document intelligence.